Now then, like as a kind of introduction to the topic for today, let's talk about like the ways that you can actually run NannyML. There's two ways that we have in mind, and one is called the exploration mode, indicated by Dora the Explorer. And we have another one called the production mode, which is Bob the Builder Robot. And these two cases are actually kind of like very different from each other. So in the first case, the exploration mode, we see people using NannyML as a library in kind of an interactive setting. So you can use NannyML within a like Jupyter notebook, and you use it as a library. The way that you use it is like very ad hoc. You run it once, or maybe with like very low frequency, you repeat it like every 3 months or something. You load in a very big data set that contains like all of your model inputs and outputs for the last couple of months. You analyze them, you take a look, you take some actions, and basically the result is you get a time series of metric values, all different kinds of them, right? Now, this is kind of opposed to the production modes, and the exploration modes, come to think of it, my colleague William actually did a webinar on that kind of scenario last week. I think it's pretty soon going to be live on YouTube, the recording of it, if I'm not mistaken. But you can already find the slides and I think the notebooks themselves as well in the examples repository. So knock yourself out if you want to have a look at those. Anyway, apart from exploration mode, there's also the production mode. And this basically means that you are running NannyML in a far more automated way, right? So you run NannyML as either a CLI tool or a container, but basically automated. You can fully configure it using configuration files. And in that way, you can run NannyML in a repeated fashion with a frequency as high as basically as the volume of your model inputs and outputs allows. Because of course, we still do a lot of statistical tests. So we want to have a volume of data that is large enough for the tests to be statistically relevant. So if you run this repeatedly, typically you're analyzing multiple data sets during the day, for example, and they're typically going to be smaller than the exploration case, right? So in the exploration case, you're looking at a period of weeks, months, maybe even years, whilst in a typical like production setting, of course, depending on the volume of transactions that your model gets, you'll be looking at a time span of like a couple of hours, half a day maybe, all the way down to like a couple of days maybe, or a week. And the end result is, again, actually quite the same. It is, again, a time series of metric values, but opposed to the exploration case where we basically generate this entire time series all at once, so we calculate all of the data points all at once, in here, you're actually gradually building up this time series, single point at a time, right? So as time passes on, you run NannyML in a repeated fashion, and every time a couple of metric values come out, and you append all of these to different time series.